Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily News YouTube channel. Today's topics. It began with an overheard conversation. Innocent enough at first, Nick had gone to Crimson Lights early that morning to pick up his coffee before heading to Newman Enterprises. As he waited in line, he caught sight of Kane Ashby, sitting in the far corner, talking quietly on his phone. Kane looked uneasy, his eyes darting toward the door like a man expecting a confrontation. Nick didn't think much of it until he heard Kane's low voice. "Phyllis, we can't keep sneaking around like this. Someone's bound to find out." The name hit Nick like a hammer. For a second, he thought he misheard. Phyllis, his Phyllis, the woman he'd fought so hard to rebuild trust with. After so many broken chapters, he stepped closer, careful not to draw attention. Kane continued, his voice barely audible. "Last night shouldn't have happened again. I know what we said, but every time I see you, it's like I lose control. We have to stop before someone gets hurt." Nick froze, heart pounding so violently he could hear it echoing in his ears. Phyllis, Kane. Together, it didn't make sense. He knew Phyllis was impulsive, fiery, and prone to mistakes. But Kane, the man who still claimed to be loyal to the memory of Lily, it was unthinkable. Yet, the tone in Kane's voice wasn't businesslike or casual. It was heavy, burdened with guilt, and laced with something deeper. Affection, longing. Nick didn't confront him then. Instead, he left quietly, his mind swirling with disbelief and suspicion. All day, he tried to convince himself it was nothing, that Kane might have been talking about something else, a misunderstanding, or even some kind of professional secret. But when Phyllis canceled their dinner plans for the third night in a row, saying she had urgent business meetings at Society, the last thread of denial snapped. That night, Nick drove to Society under the pretense of grabbing a drink alone. He sat at the bar, his back to the dining area, and scanned the room through the mirror. It didn't take long to find her, Phyllis, in a striking emerald dress, sitting at a secluded booth in the corner. And opposite her, dressed in his trademark dark suit, was Kane. Their heads were close, their expressions intense, not the casual familiarity of two business associates, but the nervous intimacy of people with something to hide. Nick's stomach turned. He watched as Kane reached across the table, his hand brushing Phyllis's fingers. She didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled softly, sadly, and leaned closer, whispering something that made Kane's jaw clench. Nick's hand trembled around his glass. The bartender asked if he wanted another drink, but he didn't answer. All he could see was Phyllis's eyes lighting up in that way he thought was reserved for him. All he could hear were the echoes of Kane's words from that morning. And all he could feel was betrayal. Familiar, cruel, and cutting deep. He waited until Kane stood and left through the side exit before approaching Phyllis. She didn't see him coming until he was standing right beside her table. Busy night. His voice was calm, but beneath it, a storm raged. Phyllis looked up, startled, her confident facade cracking for the briefest second before she forced a smile. "Nick. Hey, I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly," he said, glancing at the second wine glass, still half full. "Who are you meeting?" She hesitated. "Just business. Kane and I are working on a potential tech investment." He cut her off. "Stop. Don't do that." His tone was low, pained. "Don't lie to me. I was here the whole time, Phyllis. I saw you too. You don't touch someone like that in a business meeting." Phyllis's face drained of color. Her hands trembled as she reached for her purse, then stopped, realizing how pointless it was to pretend. "Nick, please. Let's not do this here." "No," he said sharply. "We're doing it now because I've been here before with you. Lies, secrets, half-truths. And every damn time I tell myself you'll change. But you never do." Tears welled in her eyes, but Nick wasn't moved. Not this time. It just happened. she whispered. I didn't plan it, Nick. You were so caught up with Sharon's health scare. And Kane was going through his own mess after losing everything. We leaned on each other one night. Don't you dare say it just happened. Nick's voice cracked with fury and heartbreak. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. That's the same excuse you used before. With Billy, with Jack. Every time things get complicated, you find someone else to run to. Phyllis flinched as if struck. I'm not proud of it, Nick. I hate myself for it. Okay, but Kane was there. He understood me in a way that what? That I didn't. He laughed bitterly. I gave you everything, Phyllis. Another chance after everyone told me not to. After I told myself I was a fool for believing you could be loyal. She reached out, tears streaming now. But he stepped back. Don't, he warned. Just don't. For a long moment, silence hung between them. Heavy, suffocating. Finally, Phyllis spoke, her voice breaking. Nick, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I swear. But you and we've been off for months. I felt like you were slipping away, and Kenny made me feel seen again. Nick closed his eyes. Jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. You know what's funny? I was planning to propose again. I wanted to start fresh. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could finally get it right. Phyllis gasped softly, her hands covering her mouth as sobs escaped her. Nick, please don't, it's done, he said flatly. We're done. For good this time. He turned and walked away before she could answer, leaving her trembling and broken, alone in the booth that now felt like a cage. But the fallout was far from over. The next morning, Genoa City buzzed with whispers. Someone had seen Nick storming out of society. Someone else had seen Phyllis crying in the parking lot. And within hours, the story spread like wildfire. Kane tried to keep a low profile, but the gossip found its way to Chancellor Winters, where Lily finally heard the truth. When Lily confronted Kane, it was brutal. You promised me you'd changed, she said, tears of fury glinting in her eyes. You swore you wouldn't destroy another family with your lies. Kane tried to explain, saying it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, but Lily's expression hardened. You always say that you destroy everything you touch, Kane. You ruined us, and now you've ruined Nick and Phyllis too. She turned away before he could reply, her heart breaking all over again for the man she once loved. Meanwhile, Nick confided in Sharon, who listened quietly, her eyes soft with empathy. You loved her, Nick. That's why it hurts so much. He nodded, staring at the coffee cup between his hands. I keep trying to fix things that are unfixable. Maybe I'm the idiot for thinking Phyllis could ever truly be faithful. Sharon hesitated. You're not an idiot. You just believe in people even when they don't deserve it. That's your strength and your curse. Elsewhere, Phyllis was spiraling. She tried calling Nick dozens of times, leaving messages that went unanswered. She even showed up at his door, desperate to explain, but he refused to open it. You made your choice, he said through the door. Now live with it. That rejection sent her into a tailspin. The woman who prided herself on control, on always being one step ahead, found herself unraveling. She turned to alcohol, sitting alone in her hotel suite, replaying every mistake, every lie, every moment. She thought she could hide the truth. Kane tried reaching out, but she ignored him, realizing too late that their secret had destroyed more than one relationship. It had destroyed their reputations, their friendships, and perhaps their last chances at redemption. In the weeks that followed, the repercussions spread through Genoa City like cracks through glass. Victoria questioned Nick's judgment, warning him not to let heartbreak cloud his business decisions. Jill confronted Kane, furious that he had dragged the Chancellor name through another scandal. You've embarrassed this family enough times, she snapped. Don't think I'll clean up your mess again. Kane, for once, didn't argue. He knew she was right. He had lost everything. Lily's trust, his children's respect, and any chance of rebuilding his name. The brief, reckless affair with Phyllis had cost him everything that still mattered. But for Nick, the wound ran deeper. He tried to bury himself in work, focusing on Newman Enterprises. But every corner of Genoa City held reminders of her. The restaurants they'd eaten at, the hotel where they'd laughed until sunrise. Even the scent of her perfume that lingered in his car. He told himself he was over her. But heartbreak doesn't fade overnight. One night, months later, fate forced them to cross paths again. Nick walked into society for a business dinner and found Phyllis at the bar alone, nursing a drink. Their eyes met across the room. For a long time, neither moved. Finally, Phyllis stood, taking slow steps toward him. "You look good," she said softly. He didn't smile. "You don't." She let out a small, humorless laugh. "Fair." There was a pause then. "I never stopped loving you, Nick. I just didn't know how to stop ruining it." Nick studied her face. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Tired, regretful, still beautiful, but haunted. "You always think love is supposed to be chaos," he said quietly. "But real love, it's supposed to give you peace. And you've never wanted peace." Her eyes filled again. "You're right. I destroy things before they destroy me. It's who I am." He nodded. "Then I hope someday you find someone who can live with that because I can't." And with that, he turned and walked away. This time for good. Phyllis watched him go, her vision blurring through tears. She realized then that love wasn't enough, not when it was built on lies and secrets. She had thought Cain was an escape, a distraction, a way to feel alive again. But all it had done was expose the emptiness she had been running from. Cain was gone, Nick was gone, and she was left standing in the ruins of her own making. As for Nick, walking into the night air, he felt both broken and free. The pain would linger, yes, but he had finally learned a hard truth. Some people you can love deeply, but never trust again. Phyllis would always be part of him. His passion, his regret, his lesson. And in Genoa City, where secrets never stay buried for long. This one would remain etched in memory as one of the most explosive betrayals the town had ever seen. Weeks later, Cain packed his bags and left town, unable to face the whispers any longer. Lily refused to speak to him, and Jill made it clear he had burned his last bridge. Phyllis stayed behind, throwing herself into her work, pretending the pain didn't consume her every night. She'd pass Nick sometimes on the street or at the coffee shop, and though they nodded politely, the distance between them was an ocean neither could cross. Genoa City had seen countless scandals, affairs, and betrayals. But this one left an indelible mark. It wasn't just about love lost. It was about the fragility of trust and how one reckless decision could unravel years of rebuilding. Nick Newman walked away, wiser but wearier, and Phyllis Summers was left to face the truth that some mistakes don't just break hearts, they change people forever. And somewhere, as the city lights flickered in the cold night, both wondered if there would ever be a day when they could look back without pain, when the memory of what they'd done and who they'd lost would finally stop haunting them. But in Genoa City, forgiveness is rare and secrets are eternal. And this one, Nick discovering the forbidden relationship between Cain and Phyllis, would echo for years, reshaping lives, loyalties, and the very fabric of every heart it touched. The night air was heavy with silence when Nick Newman pulled up outside Chancellor Mansion. His jaw was set, his mind made up. Days had passed since he learned about Phyllis and Cain, but the betrayal still burned hot in his chest. He tried to ignore it, to move on, but every time he saw Cain's smug face, in the news or at society, a storm brewed inside him. Tonight, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He was going to settle things once and for all. Inside, Cain sat in the study, pouring himself a drink, trying to drown out the whispers that had consumed his life since the scandal broke. His career at Chancellor Winters was hanging by a thread, his reputation shattered, and Lily's silence had been deafening. He didn't expect visitors, certainly not Nick Newman. So, when he heard the sharp knock on the door, followed by a voice like thunder calling his name, his blood ran cold. "Kane, open the damn door!" Kane set the glass down, straightened his shirt, and hesitated before unlocking the door. The moment it swung open, Nick pushed past him, fury written all over his face. "We need to talk," Nick said through clenched teeth. Kane sighed, trying to keep his composure. "Look, Nick, I know you're angry." "Angry," Nick snapped, stepping closer until their faces were inches apart. "You slept with the woman I loved, Kane. You destroyed what little trust one had left. And do you want to call it angry?" Kane swallowed hard. "I didn't plan for it to happen." "All right, it wasn't some scheme or conquest. It was a mistake." Nick laughed bitterly. "A mistake? You call sneaking around for months a mistake? You call lying to my face, smiling at me like nothing was wrong, a mistake?" Kane ran a hand through his hair. "You think I'm proud of it? I lost everything because of this. My kids, my job, my name. I didn't mean to hurt you, Nick." Nick's voice dropped, trembling with restrained rage. "But you did. You knew exactly what you were doing. Every time you looked her in the eye, you knew she was with me." Kane's guilt twisted inside him, but defensiveness crept into his tone. "It wasn't just me, Nick. Phyllis made her choices too. Don't act like I seduced her against her will." That was it. The last match to the gasoline. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Nick's fist connected with Kane's jaw before the man could blink, sending him stumbling backward into the fireplace. "You don't talk about her like that," Nick roared. Kane wiped blood from his lip, glaring back. "What? You can hit me, but you can't handle the truth. She came to me." "Nick, you were too busy playing knight in shining armor for Sharon and your family dramas to even notice she was slipping away." Nick lunged again, shoving Kane against the wall. "Say that again." Before Kane could reply, the front door burst open. Jill Abbott swept in, her voice booming. "Enough! What the hell is going on here?" The two men froze, breathing hard, anger still burning between them. Jill's eyes darted from one to the other, taking in the scene. The shattered glass, the blood on Kane's mouth, the fury radiating from Nick. "Nick!" Jill said sharply. "You'd better have a damn good reason for barging into my house and attacking my son." Nick turned to her, his voice raw. "Ask him, Jill. Ask him what he's been doing behind everyone's back. Ask him about his affair with Phyllis." Jill's expression shifted from confusion to shock. "What?" She looked at Kane, her voice dropping dangerously. "Tell me that's not true." Kane didn't answer. His silence was enough. Jill's eyes widened, then filled with disbelief and disgust. "Oh." Kane nodded again. Nick stepped back, pacing the room like a caged animal. "You think you can just ruin lives and get away with it, Kane? You think being Jill's son protects you? Not this time." Jill raised a hand. "Nick, stop. I get it. You're hurt and you have every right to be. But storming in here and throwing punches isn't going to fix a damn thing." Nick turned, his voice cracking. "You don't understand, Jill. Phyllis was my last shot at something real. And now every time I think about her, all I see is him." He jabbed a finger toward Kane. "Every lie, every secret, it's burned into my head." Jill's face softened for a moment, seeing the pain beneath Nick's anger. "You don't deserve that, Nick. But trust me, Kane's going to pay for this. I'll make sure of it." Kane looked horrified. "Mom, don't." Jill cut him off coldly. "Do you have any idea what this has done to this family's name? To me? After everything I've done to give you another chance, this is how you repay me." Kane lowered his head, guilt twisting deeper. "I never meant for it to happen. Phyllis and I don't care about excuses." Jill snapped. "You're out of Chancellor Winters. Effective immediately." Nick blinked, surprised. "You're firing him?" Jill nodded firmly. "I have to. The board's been breathing down my neck since the gossip started. This affair isn't just a personal scandal. It's a liability. I can't protect him anymore." Kane's voice broke. "Mom, please don't do this." Jill's eyes glistened. You did this to yourself, Cain. You've destroyed every chance you had to prove you've changed. I won't clean up your mess this time. Nick watched the exchange, silently, his rage cooling into something else, bitterness. He wanted revenge, yes, but seeing Cain broken and humiliated didn't bring him peace. It only deepened the emptiness inside him. He turned toward the door. I got what I came for. The truth's out. That's all I needed. Nick, Jill started, but he didn't stop. I'm done wasting energy on people who will never change, he said, his voice hollow. Phyllis, Cain, all of it. It's over. He walked out, leaving Jill staring after him, and Cain slumped in shame. When the door closed, Jill exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. You've made a damn fool of yourself, Cain, and you've dragged this family through the mud again. Cain looked up, eyes red. I know, Mom. I know I messed up, but I love her. Subscribe our channel for more latest updates.